Developing news at this hour, 24 earthquakes rattle eastern Idaho. You see the list of them here, all from the United States Geological Survey, each one in the southeastern part of the state. All 24 of the quakes were felt miles away from their epicenter near Soda Springs. There are even reports of the quakes being felt in Idaho Falls and Utah. They ranged in magnitude of 2.3 to 5.3. We do not have any reports of any injuries or damage. Tonight, new developments in the case of a Salt Lake City police officer who tried to draw blood from an unconscious Rigby Reserve police officer before arresting the nurse who told him no. The whole encounter was captured in this body cam video. Tonight, we have learned the district attorney is calling for a criminal investigation, and the officer in the video, Detective Jeff Payne, and another officer have been put on paid leave. The nurse says she does not plan on filing a lawsuit yet.
I feel very strongly in giving people the benefit of the doubt, and I truly believe that he was honest in his apology and sincere in his willingness to try and make change and make things better.
The Reserve police officer William Gray was hurt when a fleeing driver hit his semi-truck. You see that happening there head on. The Rigby Police Department released a statement regarding Officer Gray, saying they did not even know the nurse had been arrested until this story came out. They thanked the nurse in the hospital for, quote, standing firm and protecting Gray's rights. Gray remains in the hospital. We want to know your thoughts on this story. Did the officer overstep? Was the nurse in the wrong for saying no? All you have to do is search Local News 8 on Facebook and share your comments in the comments section of this story. A crime alert for you this Saturday. The Idaho Falls Police Department needs your help identifying the man you see in this picture. Police say he's a suspect in a battery at Toffus Park, but they've not said anything else. The suspect is between 16 and 20 years old, has light hair, and was wearing glasses. Anyone with information is asked to call police. Tonight, the search for a missing fisherman who was swept away while fishing below the Minidoka Dam has been called off. The man was fishing with his wife when they both were swept away last night. People in the area were able to help his wife out of the water, and she is doing okay. Witnesses told rescuers the couple had waded out into the current to fish when the wife slipped. Her husband helped her up and then began to slip himself. When she tried to get him, they both were swept away by the current. Officials say neither person was wearing a life jacket.
It is not safe. As fast as the current is going, there's no telling how much the water can be released immediately. And if you have a life jacket on, it just gives you that much better of a chance to save your own life.
Units from the Cassia County Sheriff's Office and the Mini-Cassia Search and Rescue are helping with this search. They also called in Jerome County, who has a boat equipped with side sonar to help with the search. The search will resume on Tuesday, but if anyone sees anything, you might be visiting that area, you are encouraged to contact the Sheriff's Office. We want to turn things over now to Aaron O'Shaughnessy with our first look at our forecast. And Aaron, hot, dry conditions and a lot of fire danger.
You are absolutely right. I'll send it back to you, Chris.
All right, Aaron, thank you. And we turn to the fire watch now. Crews are responding to a brush fire in Bear Lake County. This fire is happening on Mill Canyon, which is on BLM land. BLM says a car caught fire and spread. The fire started to get bigger quite quickly. Air support was called in to get on the fire. Just as quickly, there was another fire near the same area in Mill Canyon last year. You see some flames in that picture, and no word on the size of this fire. Next on the fire watch, the Ibex fire burning in the Frank Church River of No Return Wilderness. It's expected to grow over the next couple of days thanks to those hot and dry conditions that Aaron mentioned. The lightning-caused fire broke out at the end of July and has grown to over 14,000 acres. Crews say they have started a point protection strategy to protect high-value property, and no word on when containment of this fire will happen. We make our final stop on the fire watch in the Boise area, where the Hill Road fire has been contained and those evacuated have been allowed back home. 80 firefighters battled the 200-acre wildfire. It came incredibly close to some homes. You see it right there, but none of the homes were damaged. The cause of the fire is under investigation, but it is believed to be human-caused. Well, bad news if you're traveling for the Labor Day weekend. The price of gas is on its way up. Here's how it currently stands throughout our area. According to GasBuddy.com, the statewide average for a gallon of gas ringing in at $2.76. In Pocatello, it's a little less, $2.65. Idaho Falls is at $2.54. Those prices are only expected to rise as refineries in Texas shut down following Hurricane Harvey. ABC's Rebecca Jarvis with the surge in this Your Money report.
Tonight, gasoline prices surging. The national average for a gallon of regular now $2.55, up 20 cents a gallon.
They're a lot higher, and with a V8 car, it really matters.
In Dallas, what looks like a parking lot is really the endless line for gas, and many pumps there already out. Harvey affecting more than 20% of America's refining, and major pipelines that ship fuel to the East Coast and Midwest stopped or slowed. The Department of Energy releasing 1 million barrels of oil from our Strategic Petroleum Reserve. But tonight, these tankers refueling those stations emptied out by panic after the storm.
Analysts expect prices to jump 3 to 5 cents a day every day for the next week until backing off again in mid-September. Rebecca Jarvis, ABC News, New York.
New tonight out of Idaho Falls City Hall. First-term councilman Ed Morone told the Post-Register he will not run for re-election. He said he is not running so he can spend more time with his wife, who was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease in 2016. Well, happening right now, day 2 of the Eastern Idaho State Fair is winding down in Blackfoot tonight. The week-long event brings thousands of people out for some fun, but safety is also top of mind. Tonight, Local News 8's Michaela Leung is working for you with tips on protecting your kids.
Fun and safety need to go hand in hand, especially with the crowds. Police tell me lost children is the #1 incident reported.
We just keep an eye on them.
With the large crowds we'll be seeing at the fair, it's important to keep kids safe. In the event that your child is lost, here's what to do.
They can go to any first aid station or Lost Child, which is located at the entrance of the carnival. And we'll just go start looking for their child, get a description of them. Some smarter thing that they could do is write a phone number on the kids' hands or give them a piece of paper with their name with a phone number.
They say they get several calls about lost children a day, but there are ways to keep your kids safe.
2 or 3 of us that take all the kids, and they have been instructed to stay with us, do not get out of sight. They hold hands with each other, and we just keep an eye on them.
Keep your kid next to you, keep them in sight. You know, we all have a good time here at the fair. It's easy to get distracted, but just think of your child's safety first.
They say there are about 40 officers on the fairgrounds. They usually find kids quickly, but it's good to prevent the situation. Live in the studio, I'm Michaela Leung.
Thank you, Michaela. Wednesday is Local News 8 Day at the fair. If you happen to come between 10 and 1 with a can of food, you can get into the fair for $3. You will need 1 can per person for the discount. All the food gathered will be given to the local food banks. Still ahead on the news at 10, the aftermath of Harvey. Tonight, rescues continue as one community shares a unique story of just how difficult getting help was.
And coming up, I'll tell you just how hot it's going to be for the rest of your holiday weekend.
But first, right after the break, an animal safari is invading the Portneuf District Library. As you take a look at your highs and lows for the day, we'll talk about that story when we come back. Covering education, the Portneuf District Library's Animal Safari Sensory Exhibit is back again this year. The exhibit was started as a way for visually impaired kids to be able to experience some wild animals. The kids can see, feel, and learn all about the animals. The library says it gets a great response from the kids.
I have 2 groups of kids. I have two sides of the coin, if you will. So some kids are saying, when are the animals coming back? When are the animals coming back? And they're so excited when they're here. And then there's other kids who have never seen them before, who walk in and squeal and cry, and they're excited and, oh my gosh, this is so cool. So I get both reactions.
I kind of want to go do it. The exhibit also helps to teach kids about wildlife conservation. There are 2 different scavenger hunts for kids to be interactive with. The exhibit is going to be at the library through September 15th. Well, still ahead on your news at 10, incredible stories of survival and stories of holding out hope. Tonight, how members of the deaf community were forced to get help after Hurricane Harvey. And new tonight, there is a story that we want to tell you about from Highway 31. This truck crash, the Bonneville County Sheriff's Office is responding to this crash along with the Idaho Falls Fire Department, who are helping to assess the hazmat risk. This crash happened about 5 o'clock when the grain semi tipped over on Pine Creek Bench Road. This is near Swan Valley, and it is unclear why this accident happened. The driver was taken to Ermac with minor injuries. We turn now to Hurricane Harvey. Tonight, we now know, Aaron, that 43 people are dead as those floodwaters just continue to rise.
New mandatory evacuations have been ordered in parts of the state because of the rising floodwaters. President Trump was back in Texas today for his second visit since Hurricane Harvey hit. He also helped the Red Cross hand out food to them. Earlier this week, Vice President Mike Pence was also in Texas and helped with some cleanup.
And the stories of survival coming out of Texas are absolutely incredible. You can attest to that, Aaron. The rescue tales are just as remarkable, but there is one community that you know very well that we've not heard much about as they continue to ride out this disaster.
You're absolutely right, Chris. I talked with 2 deaf Hurricane Harvey survivors via Skype to figure out how communication barriers have impacted rescue efforts and how interpreters and deaf allies across the United States have rallied together to provide support to the deaf and hard of hearing survivors of Hurricane Harvey.
Well, my anxiety was really high. It was through the roof. And I've already been through 3 hurricanes. And the first and second one wasn't as bad, but this one really impacted me greatly, and I felt like helpless.
The 2 gentlemen you see in this video here are just a couple of deaf individuals who had to evacuate their homes after severe flooding. One of the rescue challenges is communicating with first responders. Technology like video relay services allow deaf people to use video calls and interpreters to call 911. But the problem is you can't always get through. And making those calls requires electricity, something not always possible to have when your home is flooding.
But again, challenging to get through to 911 because such high call volume. Essentially, the 911 centers are maxed out and there's a long queue to get your call answered. And further complicating that, people are using their cell phones. They don't have power. They can't charge their phone. So they're on hold with trying to get through to 911 while their battery is quickly dying. You know, so they're sending texts and other communication to try and get help and really facing some barriers.
And because American Sign Language is its own language, writing back and forth with first responders and shelter volunteers can prove to be challenging.
The misconception is, oh, we can just write back and forth with them. But in reality, there are those deaf individuals that have limited English proficiency and they need communication via sign language. So these shelters and volunteers, they're not sure who to call.
Community leaders and interpreters have been working nonstop to help rescue people from flooded homes, and they say there's been an outpouring of support from the community.
It's been great because they have interpreters here at NRG and George R. Brown in different shelters to provide communication access.
I'm overwhelmed and I fight back tears like 5 times a day. Not necessarily, well, probably partly because I'm a little tired, but mostly because I'm just overwhelmed by the offers of support.
Now, the deafness resource specialist in Houston said 3 of their biggest needs right now is more sign language interpreters, deaf volunteers, and deaf counselors.
And obviously, Aaron, you speak sign language, you use sign language, you were just doing it, but how did you get involved with this? It's kind of a cool thing.
You know, I originally went to school for this, so I was a sign language interpreter, and it's true, if you don't use it, you lose it. So my skills are a little bit rusty, but I'm very proud to be an ally in the deaf community and share some of these stories.
Well, this story is just incredible. I mean, you saw them in their boats there, and having to get out, the devastation there in Texas because of Harvey is really overwhelming. So those resources are valuable.
Absolutely, absolutely. And one thing people don't think about is video relay services allow you to call 911, and if you don't have electricity because your house is flooding, you know, that struggle of how do I communicate with first responders or how do I let people know that I need help?
It's really something a lot of us take for granted.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but our weather here, though, we don't have to worry about a lot of rain because it's dry.
No, that is right. It is going to stay nice and dry. Let's go ahead and take our weather graphics and take a look at our first alert Vipercast around 11 p.m. tonight. Now, we're not going to see a whole lot of activity this weekend because we have a ridge of high pressure that is hanging out across our region. So that means we're going to see lots and lots of sunshine and not a whole lot of active weather. So taking a look at this Vipercast, we're not going to see much activity. Going into Sunday morning, there's potential that we could see some rains across the Continental Divide, but the chance of that isn't super great. Now, heading into the week along the Snake River Plain, we could see those temperatures get up to or into the 90s, so it's going to be nice and warm. But one of the big concerns, however, with all this sunshine, we're also going to be seeing a lot of haze from nearby wildfires because it is so dry and so warm. Turning to some of our lows tonight and highs tomorrow, Preston is going to see a high of 91, Soda Springs 84, Afton 89, lows for tonight range anywhere from those lower to upper 40s into the mid 50s. Jackson's going to see a high of 88 tomorrow, West Yellowstone 86, Ashton 89, lows tonight again range from those lower to upper 40s into the lower 50s. Arco a high of 86 tomorrow, Salmon 91. Now Salmon is one of those places that it's going to get really hazy as we go into the work week. Mackey is going to see a low of 51. And we'll finish things up here in the Snake River Plain. Pocatello, Blackfoot, Idaho Falls, and Rigby all going to see temperatures up into those 90s. Lows for this part of the region, for the most part, are going to be staying in those 50s. Now, to the good part, let's go ahead and check out some of those 8-day forecasts for the rest of the week. Starting in Idaho Falls, we're going to see a high of 87 tomorrow. Monday, it's going to get up to 90 degrees. Next Saturday and Sunday, we'll see a little bit of broken cloud cover, and we're going to see potential of a trough moving into our region next weekend. So that is why we're going to see those slightly cooler temperatures. Lows for Idaho Falls are going to stay in those lower to mid 50s for the rest of the week. Jackson, a high of 88 tomorrow. Monday through Wednesday, that sunshine is going to be out, but again, we could see some areas of smoke, so that is going to contribute to how much sunshine you're actually going to be seeing. Lows for this week in Jackson are going to, for the most part, stay in those lower to mid 40s. Salmon, a high of 91 tomorrow. And that haze that I was talking about, Monday through Friday, good chance that it's going to be pretty hazy. Saturday and Sunday, it should start to clear up as we see a little bit more active weather moving into our region. Lows for salmon are going to stay in those upper 40s and low 50s. And taking a look at Rexburg, a high of 89 on Monday. Friday through Sunday, we are going to see a little bit of broken cloud cover. Temperatures are going to be staying in those mid 80s and then slightly cool off by the time we hit next Saturday and Sunday, with temperatures around 79 degrees. We'll finish things up here in Pocatello with a high of 93 tomorrow. Nice clear skies through Thursday. Sunday, we're going to see a high of 84. Lows for the week are going to stay in those upper 50s and low 60s.
All right. Thanks so much, Aaron. We appreciate it. And still ahead on your news at 10, it's time for Sports Line, and the BSU Broncos kick off the season tonight. Jeff Landers has the highlights from the blue turf when we come back.